So we are from Crim 4201, and we're a group CPTED and Public Parks. We are Joseph Haldal, Hassimwin Bale, Sumer Bachu, Miri Park, and Natalie Cote. And we're going to discuss some of the finer aspects of CPTED and how it can apply to a public park. But before we begin, we're going to talk about some of the history of CPTED and how it's kind of formed to what it is today. So, history of CPTED. CPTED, also known as Crime Prevention through Environmental Design. Some of the early pioneers was Elizabeth Woods and Jane Jacobs. Elizabeth Woods was well known for developing guidelines for addressing security issues while working with the Chicago Housing Authority. She basically wanted to put an emphasis on design features that would support natural surveillability. Communities that can almost surveil themselves was what she was trying to accomplish. Jane Jacobs followed up with this, but she argued that urban designers, they kind of went against this. They made these almost closed box communities that really no one got to see what was going on, and this was problematic because people didn't really know what was happening within their own communities. And she said this actually encouraged crime. She wanted to almost promote this idea of natural guardianship, an environment that would almost decrease crime because so many people would be able to see what was going on around them, and therefore criminals would be deterred from even committing crime in the first place. So it was almost like these women had an early idea of the self-policing community before it was even a thing or before it was even conceptualized. So how does this relate to some of the project we're looking at right now? So broken windows theory basically talks about how if there's already visible signs of crime within the communities, there's most likely going to be more crime. Communities that are usually not taken care of are typically going to have the residents feeling like no one really really cares about what's going on. Therefore, criminals know that there's probably very little consequences of committing crime in the first place. So with a lot of dilapidated communities, it's usually a cycle that never can really be broken, because you might be able to fix one building, but the other buildings are broken, and therefore all the other buildings are just gonna be broken, right? So what can we really do to fix quote unquote broken communities, and how does this even relate to a park? So the park we're looking at is William Beagle Park in Surrey. Now, from this picture, it looks like any other normal park most people go to. This grass is nice. Looks like the trees and the greenery is well kept. There's no visible signs of littering. There's no graffitis that anyone could see. It looks like a pretty nice park. One would not suspect that this would be a park that would be a target for crime. So what makes a park such an interesting attractor of crime? Well, first off, parks are very large public spaces that are basically available 24/7, 365 days a year. Anyone can access a park. Children, men, women of almost any age. The type of people that go to parks are young kids, adults, elderly, and teenagers. So you have a diverse group of people who go to parks, obviously doing different things at the park. So some are playing, some are hanging out, some are just leisurely just like sitting there. So there's different types of things people are doing at parks, which kind of makes it such an interesting space when you think about it, and obviously an opportune space for crime to occur. And we're going to shortly look at some of the type of crimes that can occur at a park. So typically the type of crimes that occur at park are graffiti. So people typically will graffiti, spray paint stuff on the walls. Littering, people usually leave garbage at a park. Loitering, people will hang around at a park at unnecessary hours. People usually, especially minors, will drink at a park. People will have sex or expose themselves at a park. People will do drugs at a park, and people will live there illegally as homeless people live at a park. So there's a lot of different crime opportunities at a park, and we'll shortly see what this park looks like. Now, from the offset, this looks like a very nice park. Like I said before, a lot of the grass is well kept. The bushes look really nice. It's very green, green space here. Very green space. Very green space. You can see that the field looks pretty well kept. It looks very clean. It looks like it is regularly used. It doesn't look like it is fully abandoned. You can see in the next clip how the trail in this park is actually very nice as well. You can see that there's a clear path. People can kind of see what's going on. There's a lot of trees, and it is kind of hidden, but it is clean. It is very clean. So that is something that is definitely makes it very attractive for families to maybe families to go on a hike or explore the area. And now you can see there's a lot of different alleyways that go into the park. So it is very accessible, very easy to go to a park. It is never really gated, especially this park is never really gated. People can walk into the park no problem. Even a wheelchair could fit through that. So that is something that makes it very attractive for people who want to visit the park. We can see this is another walkway that people can go through. Again, you can ride your bike through there with very little issues. Very little issue to ride your bike through there. And again, there's no debris in the way. There's no way of obstructing someone, or there's no way of even blocking it off. So it'd be a good place if you're on the run to run through the park and hide. There'd be plenty of places to hide if you're a criminal. So this is some of the problems with the park. So we touched upon this earlier, but there is littering. Now this does appear to be a baggie that was probably used for some illicit drug use. Now park is very attractive place to consume drugs because it's very bushy. You can very easy to hide from other people or other things, especially if you're a young person. And again, we can see how graffiti, way of self-expression, like especially at nighttime, very easy to spray paint an area, quickly do it. This probably took like 20 minutes to draw this eye or this genitalia. So it isn't very difficult to commit crime at a park because it isn't a very supervised space. And typically, again, this is just going to promote more crime. People see this, and if it's left like this for a while, other people are going to graffiti. Now, so this house has been abandoned for quite a while, numerous months now, and this kind of shows the community that no one is really watching this community because it's quite an eyesore, and people who see this might think, oh well, this park doesn't really matter, so we can kind of just do what we want at this park with very little to no consequences. Now, some concluding remarks. Obviously, there's a lot of different types of parks in the city of Surrey. There's over 200 parks within the city, and that's going to present a lot of challenges. Police officers realistically don't have the resources to watch all parks, especially that of our project William Beagle. So natural surveillance, we proposed eliminating some of the, kind of like there's a lot of bushes, implementing more lighting in the graffiti spots, and maybe by removing a lot of the excess bushes in those alleyways, we'd be able to deter a lot of crime. So that was kind of like all some of our goals and aims of the project was to do something like that. And we know with a lot of funding and a lot of and even maybe a community program that's just cleans up the park, it could probably put more pride into the park. And this would be a very cost-effective program that the community can kind of go back on, and maybe pushing the city too to fix that dilapidated building that's been kind of sitting there for months, because it is not really helping out the community whatsoever, and the residents in that area probably don't feel too good looking at a burnt building. So these are some of the ideas and some of the things we want to promote in our project. Kind of how park can. It is a very accessible space. It is like a space that a lot of different type of people use, and if we can promote the idea of more lighting, natural surveillance, even just cleaning up the park, it'll just look way better for the community as a whole. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.